Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel to watch the video today. Always very grateful for that. And guys, today we have an unboxing. I just got these in. I'm gonna unbox what is probably one of my top 3 favorite May lures, especially for catching big fish today. I'm gonna show you guys what it is, how to use it, talk about the equipment to fish it on. Definitely think it's gonna add up to some hogs for you guys in the month of May coming up. Also, guys, just a quick invitation out there. If you haven't considered to subscribing to Intuitive Angling, I'd like to invite everybody to do that, guys. Right now, we've only got about 40% of the people that watch the videos are actually subscribed to the channel. And subscribing to the channel, hitting that like button on the videos, good way to support the channel. So much appreciated with that. Okay, guys, let's get into this. Just got this in here. I'm gonna open it up, show you what it is, and then I'm gonna give you guys some tips and advice on how to fish it. Here it is, which is the 8-inch megabass Magdraft. This is not the 6-inch model. This is the 8-inch model, the big one here. A lot of people throw the 6-inch, but not as many people throw the 8 and 10-inch models. But this is the 8-inch model. This, guys, is one of the best May bass fishing lures that you'll ever throw. We're gonna give you guys some tips and advice on that. If you guys have watched it, you know the Bassmaster Elite Series Pro Matt Robertson. He loves this thing. He's got this thing tied on. He's done really good at Kentucky Lake on it. And it is one of the best looking lures you'll ever see in the water. If you guys have fished the 6-inch Magdraft, you know how good that thing looks. But the 8-inch model, he's even got more action than the 6-inch model. Also, guys, these are available at Tackle Warehouse, so I'll put my Tackle Warehouse link in the description for the 8-inch Megabass Magdraft. You guys, if you want to order a few there, it's a good way to support the channel, but they got a wide selection at Tackle Warehouse. This is my favorite color too, guys. This right here is the nude bass. They got a nude bass and a nude rainbow. It's a really good one. They got an MB gizzard shad, which is this one right here. Show you, real natural looking color. But a lot of it, the color, I don't really get hung up too much on colors. A lot of it depends on the sky conditions and the water clarity, which we'll talk about here. But one of the things about the 8-inch Magdraft, guys, it's a lot bigger than the 6-inch. It's a lot heavier. It's got a lot bigger hook in it. But if you're not familiar with it, all the Megabass Magdraft, you got a magnet here on the belly that keeps the hook attached to it like that. But there's also a slit that you slide one barb in there, and you've got these 2 bottom hooks, you know, real flush against the bottom, doesn't obtrude. Guys, this thing looks so good in the water. When you're reeling it, the head of the thing sort of goes like that a little bit, and then you got that big wagging tail on here. So this thing displaces a lot of water. It creates a lot of vibration. And the reason this thing is such an awesome lure in the month of May, it's like these fish are hungry after they get done spawning. And the month of May is pretty much as the post-spawn period of the year in a lot of lakes. And those bigger females are ready to feed. You know, they're exhausted from spawning. You know, they're moving out a little bit, and they're ready, and they're, you know, willing to bite big lures. This is the time of year I like to fish the big lures. And the thing that makes the 8-inch Magdraft so appealing is you have a combination of a lot of different strike attractors. You got the strike attractor, again, from the water displacement and the vibration and the movement. And then the bait looks so realistic. It looks just like a bait fish that in a clear water environment, when those big fish come up and start tracking this thing, because they do, the big fish very seldom just like come up and annihilate it. If you've ever watched them, you'll be working this thing across the water, and these big ones will slowly swim up and study it. And when they get close to it and they see how realistic it looks, that usually gets them to bite the thing. So I tied directly to the line. Also, guys, I use 25-pound test Seaguar and Vizex line with the 8-inch Magdraft. And another thing about this, before we get into where to throw it, you got to throw it on the right rod. This is the best rod for it, guys. This is the 8-inch Megabass Leviathan, Roshi Leviathan. I'll also link this in the description. But this is a heavy bait. This bait weighs, 4 or 5 ounces. You can't even throw it hardly on a flipping stick. A flipping stick is way too light. But this 8-foot heavy action Leviathan is designed specifically for that, and you can really cast it out there a long way and not only make long casts, but you can load it up real good without it bending too much. And then you have a lot of power once that fish does bite the thing, because on a bait like this, when you get a big fish like a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pounder, they'll come up and they'll just annihilate it. And you've got a lot of plastic in there, so you have to move a lot of plastic and a lot of hook before you even penetrate the fish. So that's why you need those 8-foot heavy action rods. Okay, let's talk about conditions and where you want to fish this, because obviously that's the most important thing. First of all, we get into that, let's talk about how to retrieve it. One of the things about retrieving an 8-inch is you want to fish it just fast enough to get the tail wobbling, because if you reel any Magdraft too fast, it'll tend to roll on its side a little bit. So the ideal scenario is to run it to just slow enough where it's going straight, just enough to get that tail wagging back and forth. Slow presentation is a key element on these Magdrafts, but just throw it out there, make your long cast. You know, when you cast the thing out there, and once it hits the bottom, you have to really determine how deep you want to fish it. Most of the time, I like to fish it high in the water column, so I start reeling immediately. But keep your rod tip pointed right at it like this, and after about 3 or 4 turns, do a fast half turn like that. So just crank it just steady like that, then go boom, just like that, about every 3 or 4 turns. And sometimes when you're reeling that thing across like that, and it's just going steady like that, and you reel it a half turn, and it'll just move forward like that, and a lot of times that will generate the strike. Okay, let's talk about conditions first. Conditions, and then we'll talk about type of areas you want to fish. The 8-inch Magdraft is very, very situational in terms of when the fish will actually get aggressive on it and bite it. So you have to have the right weather conditions. The right weather conditions, number one, you got to have wind. I prefer like a 15 to 20 mile an hour wind. I want a windy day. It doesn't have to be like a super windy day, but you need to have some wind breaking up the surface. You know, at least a 10 mile an hour wind. 10 to 20 is perfect. That's a big deal. The next with that is you need to have some type of a wind out of the south, southwest, or west. You don't want an east wind, you don't want a north wind. There's something about an east or north wind that those fish will simply not bite this big swim bait as good. You need some type of a steady to falling barometric pressure, which is usually accompanied by a south wind, southwest wind, west wind, and a little bit stronger winds. That's the ideal scenario, along with some type of cloud coverage. I like at least 75% cloud coverage. Preferably, I want a cloudy or even a rainy day. Low light conditions, warm, windy is going to be the perfect scenarios, combined with the right water visibility. The right water visibility for the 8-inch model is sort of in that probably 2.5 to 5 foot, maybe 6 foot zone. If you gave me the ideal situation, and then everything else sort of radiates away from that. But the perfect situation for the 8-inch is the day that I described: windy, cloudy, warm, that type of thing, with water visibility around 4 feet. If you got all those conditions and it's the month of May, this is perfect time to fish the 8-inch Magdraft as far as the condition you find during the day on the water. Next thing is talk about where you want to fish it at. And a lot of it, depends on the lake that you have. If you guys are fishing grass lakes, which it works great around grass, just slow rolling it out off those post-spawn grass flats can be real good. TVA lakes, Florida lakes, Texas lakes, any place like that, you can't go wrong with just covering those big post-spawn grass flats. But for most anglers that fish man-made rocky type impoundments, one of the things that is going to be really critical with the larger swim bait in the post-spawn of May is you've got to have some type of a deeper water access close by. And the two type of areas that provide that are channel and bluff banks, that type of thing, and main lake and secondary points. Now, you guys hear me talk a lot about main lake and secondary points on the channel here because, in my opinion, they are the #1 bass structure on a lake. There's not a single lake in the country where bass don't live on main and secondary points. They use them situationally, and timing's a big thing as far as the time of day that they use them or time of night. But there's always a population of fish on those main and secondary points. And the good thing about the main lake and secondary points is if you've got the right water clarity, like that 4 foot of water visibility, you can fan cast these big 8-inch Magdrafts all over that point. If it's low light conditions and really windy, you might fish it up there in 3 or 4 foot of water. If the wind's not blowing quite as much, say it's like 5 to 10 mile an hour, you can get out there on the ends of the deeper points, fish it out over 15, 20, 25 foot of water, and let it sink 5 or 6 feet, and those big fish will come up off the bottom in that deeper water and hit it. So you need some type of situation where the fish can come up on the bait vertically. That's why the bluffs and the channel banks also work good. you're not going to catch that many bass on the 8-inch model when the bass have to hit it horizontally in shallower water. So this is not really a good bait to fish around shallow water unless you're fishing it around some type of hard target object where the fish can ambush it, like a dock corner or the end of a laydown that's closer to deeper water, something like that. But if you gave me the perfect situation, say, Randy, I've never caught a fish on an 8-inch megabass backdraft, what do I need to do? Get out on a main lake or secondary point, get out there on the day that I described to you, put you on 20, 25 pound test Seaguar and Bizx line, get you an 8-foot, stiff rod, and just fan cast this thing around. Now, for you guys that fish the smaller 6-inch Magdraft, and a lot of people do, if you go out there and let's say you have a good day on the Magdraft and you get 10 or 12 bites on the Magdraft, 6-inch, which is a good day. If you fish the 8-inch model in the same situation, you're probably going to get about 75% fewer bites. So if you have a day where you got 10 bites fishing the megabass Magdraft, same situation, you might get 3 on the 8-inch, but those 3 that you get are going to weigh a lot more than any of the ones you catch on the 6. So it's a matter of sacrificing, quantity for quality on this. It's a big fish lure. Not to say the little ones will hit it, guys. I've caught 1.5 pound fish on the 8-inch one before, but for the most time, when one gets this right here, it's going to be at least a 3-pound fish. Most of the time, closer to 4 or bigger. In my own experience. So. Anyway, guys, get you a few. Tackle Warehouse link in the description. Big fish bait, super fun to fish, looks great in the water. You won't want to put it down because when you see this thing coming through the water, it looks like something you want to jump in the water and eat. The thing looks so good in the water, and it's just a great fishing tool. So hope it helps out. We'll talk later.